Hello friends, welcome back to Heartscapes, where we are practicing the system of Reiki at the intersection of self-reflection, spiritual practice, and social action. My name is Michaela. Welcome back to Heartscape Studio. We are working through a series of videos that is answering questions that I get often about the elements of the system of Reiki. Why are there 5 elements? What are those elements? How do they function together inside of the system? This is the 5th video in this series, I believe, working through firstly the spiritual context of these elements and then each of them in brief. And so we're kind of painting a picture of the map of the system of Reiki as a complete and integrated, simple, elegant, accessible system for living our lives as an embodiment of the precepts. The precepts being the first element of the system. I'll put the links to all of the rest of the videos in this series down below so that you can get caught up if you haven't seen the previous ones as they're building on each other. And so the purpose of the system of Reiki is to live our lives as an embodiment of the 5 precepts. The other 4 elements in the system and all of the practices under each element are designed to help us get there. Because living our lives unattached to anger and fear, deeply rooted in gratitude and compassion, and being diligent in all of these things in all of our days, all of our moments, is challenging. It's challenging to do this in our daily life. And so the system of Reiki was designed to help us embody these precepts in our daily life, little by little, every moment opening up more possibility for that when we practice diligently. So the breathing methods, the second element, the kokyoho, the breathing elements, those are designed to help us focus our mind on the precepts and on the physical map, the map of our body and our energy system that we have to navigate as we're moving through our life. The third element, the symbols and mantras, again, friends, allies, tools to help us focus our mind at different points of this map, to help us move through the energetic system, the physical body, and the world, the way in which our body connects to the world around us in a particular progression that builds our sense of groundedness, our sense of spaciousness, and ultimately our sense of compassionate connection, where we can truly embody the precepts. The various elements of the system were brought into the system over time. So the founder of the system, Mikao Usui, have I even mentioned Mikao Usui yet in this series? I'm not sure that I have. Oh, that is a major oversight. The system of Reiki was developed by a man named Mikao Usui, who lived from about 1865 to around the 1920s, and was really developing this system towards the middle and end of his life, drawn out of the esoteric Buddhism and Shinto spiritual practices of his culture and of his life. And the precepts were the starting point, right? A distillation of the most potent aspects of the spiritual traditions of his life. And then these other elements developed in collaboration with his students and the folks who he worked with to help us to actually achieve embodiment of the precepts. And each of these other elements helps us to engage a different part of our lived experience. So for example, the breathing methods help to really integrate our body, our breath, and our focus, bring those all together into an integrated totality. The word sanmitsu in Japanese means the 3 mysteries, and it refers to the 3 ways that we experience the world: our body, our voice or our energy, and our mind. And so all of these practices in one way or another help to integrate those 3 parts of ourself together. These symbols and mantras do the same. They help us to focus our mind on a symbol, use our breath and our energy to intone the mantra, and all of that with our mind focused on what we're doing. Tenohira, the 4th element of the system, palm healing. This is explicitly a very body-centered practice. So some of us need to do more work in the mind. Some of us need to do more work with the breath and the voice. And some of us need to do more work with the physical body. We have different ways of strength and different places of difficulty. And so Tenohira is explicitly a body practice, but it's not only a body practice. All of these practices work together. So we are in our breathing method, we are helping to focus our mind on what we're doing, and then in Tenohira, palm healing, we're using our body, our physical body, and the sensation of touch or the sensation of proximity. We don't have to physically touch another person or our own body, but physical proximity to help, again, focus our mind on ultimately embodying the precepts. Now, Tenohira, palm healing, is the element of the system of Reiki that is most commonly associated with Reiki from a Western Reiki perspective. For many folks, that really is the totality of the system. It's getting attuned to Reiki, which is a misunderstanding of the fifth element of the system that we'll talk about in the next video. And then it's learning a series of hand placements that we would use on ourselves or on another person. This is, as I say, just one of 5 elements, no more or less important than any of the others. And its intention is the same as all of the others, to help us focus our mind on the here and now, this present moment, to help gain a sense of grounded foundation, a sense of spaciousness, wide open possibility, and a sense of compassionate connection. Now, the experience of physical touch is a birthright of anything with a body, honestly, right? Mammals in particular, we really gravitate towards the experience of touch as a healing and connecting experience. We can see this in our daily life. You know, if we bonk our elbow and, you know, we have pain, we're automatically going to put our hand there. And the pressure and warmth of our hand will soothe that pain. If we're with a friend who is very sad or is experiencing a shock, we're going to naturally want to put our hands on their shoulder or give them a hug. Touch is inherent to humanity. It's part of how we experience the world and how we express our connection to other people and to ourselves, right? I mean, how healing can it be to even just place our own hands on our own heart in a given moment? It's our birthright as animals of this world, warm-blooded animals of this world. And when we touch with a particular mindset, with a focused mind on the precepts, then this greater well of possibility opens up, and we have what we experience in a Reiki session as a healing experience. Now, I've said before that from the perspective of its origins, healing in the system of Reiki can be understood as remembering the wholeness of our true self, embodying the precepts so much that we remember our deep and abiding interconnectedness, our purpose as a living being in this world, our connection to the web of life and all other living beings, and remembering our inherent and consistent wholeness that is at our center. So the practice of Tenohira, of palm healing, can help us have a direct experience of that. Again, when we are focusing our mind in a way that helps us to get there. And it's pretty wild that that experience can be shared with another person. Now, this is another place where there's some misunderstanding about how Tenohira was understood from the perspective of its Japanese origins. I want to address that a little bit, but I want to preface it by saying that there are many systems of practice that use physical touch, that use meditation. Many of them have merit. They might be coming at it from different mindsets, right? Different types of understanding of what is actually happening. What are we intending? What are we doing in this practice, right? So this is not to say that one is better than another, but it's to say that the system of Reiki coming from a specific time and place inside of a long existing ancient spiritual and cultural tradition has a particular worldview. It has a particular understanding of what is happening inside of a Reiki experience that is different from other types of experiences. So in kind of just honoring that, understanding that, and then seeing how that applies to our own practice, I just want to name that dynamic. So from its origins, what is understood to be happening is that Reiki is shared from the inside out. I've said this before in previous videos, that we're focusing our attention first and foremost in the center of our body. We start in the low belly, that first diamond, that first stop on the map, the first symbol and mantra associated with this place to build that firm foundation. And then from that centered place in our body, in our mind, in our breath, in our energy, we're expanding our sense of ourself. We're remembering that this sovereign experience I'm having as an individual person with an individual body is intimately interconnected with all other life. That at the level of relative reality, I can experience myself as a separate person, and you as a separate person, and other people as separate people, and the birds outside as separate creatures. But at the level of ultimate reality, the truth about the universe, we are all connected. It's all one pool of life. And so when we connect with our own spark of life at the center of our body, and then imagine that spark extending out from us and coming into deep connection with all of life, or remembering that it is already in deep connection, right? This is how Reiki functions. And when we do that in collaboration with another person, right? So whether that person is on a massage table receiving a treatment, or whether that person is just in the room with us, or we're having a conversation with them, we extend that sense of connection, that sense of interdependence, that sense of our capacity and the nourishment of our life as being bigger than our one small body, right? The people around us can sense that because we have empathy. We have mirror neurons in our bodies that reflect each other, that pick up each other's mood, each other's mindsets, right? We impact the people around us through these physiological and energetic phenomena. Empathy being one that, most people are familiar with, where we can pick up on the feelings of other people, right? Our heartbeats entrain with each other when we get into close proximity, right? And so when we're thinking about doing a Reiki session with another person, whether or not we're physically touching them, the state of my body and the state of my mind and my energy is of utmost importance. Because if I can influence a room simply by walking into it in a really shitty mood, for example, how often have you been, just minding your own business, doing something, and someone comes in the room in a terrible mood, and it's just, you feel it, right? Ugh. Maybe you feel your own energy drop, or maybe some unpleasant memories start to come forward. Conversely, what if somebody walks into the room feeling joyful and spacious and loving and in a state of connection, right? That also influences how we feel. And so it's of utmost importance how we show up to that session with that other person, what our state of mind, body, and energy is. And so these other elements in the system help us to focus our mind, get that sensation of groundedness, that sensation of spaciousness, and ultimately the sensation of compassionate connection, so that when we show up with this other person, that is what we're bringing into the space. That is what their system is going to take up and reflect. Their own system will start to say, oh, that's right, I remember my wholeness. I remember that I too am grounded, I'm spacious, I am connected. And through empathy, through mirror neurons, through the entrainment of our hearts with each other, that is how a Reiki healing session functions. It's not about channeling energy from outside of ourselves, pulling it in from somewhere else, channeling it through us to this other person to heal that person. That is not what is understood to be happening from the perspective of Reiki's origins. It's an inside-out process. It's a shift in our own mind, body, and energy such that we impact the people around us in a positive way. It's remembering our inherent connection rather than emphasizing disconnection by pulling something from outside of ourselves, channeling it to a person who's separate from us, and then disconnecting. Those are two different ways of understanding what's happening there in that session. We could talk a lot more about that, but I'm going to pause on that now if you're curious about going more into that question of what exactly is happening here. You know, what are we understanding is happening? Okay, let me pause there and say, I am not going to claim to 100% know what is happening on a metaphysical level. I do not claim to be able to know that with 100% certainty. I know what my experience has been. I know how my experience has changed when I shifted my mindset from a Western Reiki mentality to the origins of Reiki mentality. That my own experience of my own healing deepened profoundly. That my own experience of just being a human in the world changed profoundly. And my effectiveness working with other people deepened profoundly. So this is based on, firstly, respecting the long-standing traditions that this system of thought came through, applying that to my own direct experiences, and observing over time the level of effectiveness and the impact of those mindsets on myself and in relationship to other people. So it's worth exploring. It's worth investigating a different way of thinking about Reiki if you have been practicing from a Western perspective. Okay, so Tenohira, palm healing, fourth element in the system of Reiki, leveraging our physical body, the inherent healing quality of touch, the way in which that can bring our attention, can focus our mind in the solidity, the structure, the foundation of our body, of the earth, and of our connection to each other. It's a powerful element in the system. One of five, no more or less important than the others. All right, friends, I will be back with the final video in this series where we investigate the fifth element of the system of Reiki, which is Reiju, or spiritual blessing, sometimes called an attunement or an initiation in Western Reiki. And we will finish up this series. If there's any questions that have been sparked for you, please do drop them down below in the comments, and I might address them in a future video. If you have any experiences that you want to share, I love to hear them, continuing the conversation in the comments. And if you want to be notified when I release that next video, please do subscribe to the channel, and that'll get you notifications and help get this work to other folks. So as you work through your own investigation of the system of Reiki, may you be deeply provisioned for that journey. And until next time, I love you. Goodbye.